Okay. I'm Lorie Novak, and I'd like to welcome you to Future Imagemakers Speak Out. And I realize future Imagemakers, they're current Imagemakers, but they're like, we're going to watch them. They're like Imagemakers to watch out for. Anyway, I'm an artist and professor of photography and imaging at NYU Tisch School of the Arts, and the founding director of our Tisch Future Imagemaker program, a free high school photography program offered every spring where we give free digital photography Saturdays to, I've been so worried about you guys that now my worry's coming out. So I'm a little nervous all of a sudden, so excuse me. Anyway, our program has been taught by the last few years, our Saturday program by Bayate Ross Smith, with NYU student teachers also working in the program. Riana, my co-moderator here, is one of those students. I have to, plug our program. We have information here if any of you are interested in enrolling this spring. What I really want to do is to first off thank Photoville, especially Jordan Roth, who's organized this panel, Jasmine Chang, Laura Romano, Sam Barzilay, Dave Shelley, and the entire incredible Photoville team. As impossible as it seems, Photoville is even better this year. This year, we are seeing exhibitions that not only present the dire situation of our present and the many ignored histories, but also envision new narratives, possibilities, and hope. And I personally thank them for that. This panel and Photoville celebrates freedom of speech, freedom of expression, diversity, inclusion, and importantly, the freedom to dream. We are presenting this in conjunction with our exhibition, Citizenships, Rights, Reflections on Rights by Teen Photographers, with I co-facilitated with the wonderful Deborah Willis, and Riana Gideon as our amazing assistant curator. I hope you'll all go see the exhibition later today. Everybody up here on stage has work in the exhibition. I'd like to introduce Riana Gideon, who, since she graduated in this last spring, I can say she is my former student. She has taught photography in our Future Imagemakers programs in both 2017 and 2018, and in our summer high school program. This last summer, she taught photography at the Lower Eastside Girls Club, and she's also taught photography at the Wallkill Correctional Facilities. Through photography, Riana explores female incarceration, mentorship, and family. So today this panel celebrates not only intergenerational collaboration, as evidenced by all of us here, but also, really importantly, institutional collaboration. Here in New York City, there are many, many fantastic free and low-cost art and media programs for young people in programs in community centers, nonprofits, universities, museums, and more. For today's panel, I asked 3 organizations to select speakers for our panel, and this slide shows some highlights from all 4 of our programs. Riana will be introducing the panelists in a moment after I talk a little bit more about who I need to thank and why we're doing this. In putting together today's panel, I have to thank Lacey Austin and Ife Abdus-Salam and Danny Peralta from the ICP community programs and The Point, Bianca Farrow from BDC, and I have to stop for a moment and say both Bianca and Ife were our students at DPI, so it's really passing things on, and I'm incredibly proud of that fact. And I also want to thank Destiny Mata and Lynn Pentecost from the Lower East Side Girls Club. They all really helped in putting today's panel together. My Future Imagemakers have participated in Education Day every year since the second Photoville when it was started. And in sitting in on last year's panels, and after our own, I was just so moved by what the young people had to say. I approached Jasmine, Laura, Dave, and Sam and said, we need to be on the big stage next year. Let me do a talk with high school students. So it's in that spirit that we've invited these young people to speak to you today. I do not think that I am alone in feeling that activism by young people in this moment is both awe-inspiring and is giving us hope. Since the fight for DACA and the horrific shootings in Parkland earlier this year, young activists have taken the national stage, and we hear you, and we look to you for our future. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Riana. We still have the slideshow to go through, but you can say a few things, and then we'll talk some more. We're going to open it up for Q&A. Each panelist is going to talk for 5 minutes, and then we're going to let you ask them some questions. So here we go.
All right, thanks, Lorie. So before I introduce each of our lovely panelists today, I would just like to say that as an educator, I have seen the benefits of mentorship and collaboration. My role is to guide my students and also listen and learn. Their life experiences and various perspectives urge me to continue my social practice and engage with these inspiring young people who use their lens as a means of activism and self-expression. I am so grateful to be here today. I'm so excited to get this panel rolling. And we're going to hear from some wonderful photographers and filmmakers, all of whom have their work in our citizenship exhibition, which is Container 4. And yeah, I think we're gonna pass the clicker on down to Bianca, who's gonna start it off.
Hello, I'm Bianca Cologne, and I've been a part of the BDC for 2 years. When I first started photographing at the BDC, I didn't really have like a purpose or a story that I was really telling with my photos. It was more like, I'll just go take a walk with my mom, and I'll just, on those walks with my mom, I'll just make some photographs and see what will come out of this. The photos in this my presentation is in chronological order. So these were pictures that I've taken 2 years ago. So yeah, this is actually a project where we had to like imitate a photographer. I don't remember the name of the photographer I had to do. So our first project was the gentrification project, and this is what started me storytelling and doing research. This is what opened my eyes to this, as the BDC was teaching us in this class. At this moment, just learning about the gentrification that was happening in my community, that's when I opened my eyes, and that's when I started to realize, I started to become more aware of the issues and the problems that were going on. And this is what started to open my eyes. Later that year, we had another project. It was called the Immigration Project. This project was a response to like current news that was happening within the country, basically, after a new president. And just like we were trying to shed some light on the positivity of immigrants, since there was so much negativity about the immigrants. My project was focused on immigrant women, specifically immigrant women artists. First here is Marwa Halal. She uses writing as a way. She's a poet. She's an Egyptian poet, and she's also a journalist. And then up next was Marta Naranjo Sandoval. She is a Mexican interdisciplinary artist, where she was manipulating photos to tell her story. And lastly was Judy Minaya, who was a Dominican artist, who was mainly focused on femininity and just how Dominican women were portrayed in general. She's also an interdisciplinary artist. Oh, that summer, I was given the wonderful opportunity to go to Japan. this was at the airport when we arrived there. And when we got to Japan, we were given the task to kind of show our perspective of the community. We were specifically in the town of Higashikawa, and it's a beautiful town. Beautiful, I love it. Wish I can go back. This contributed to just getting engaged with community, not just my community, but someone else's community. As an outsider, I had to figure out what did I want to say, what did I want to show, and how did I view this community. It was nothing bad, it was great. This was a statue that we saw over there with Chinese writing. It was really cool, I like the shadows. Next, our project was, what was that project? I forgot. Oh, the activist project. We had to photograph activists specifically in the South Bronx. We had to photograph them using 120 millimeter film. We used specifically Hasselblad, and we had to photograph, interview, and write a profile based on them, like showing what did they support and why. This is Aisha, who is an art activist. I remember during the interview, I kept trying to ask her, when did you start doing art and when did you start doing activism? And she said, I can't differentiate the two. This is also Marlene. This is Marlene Nunez, who is also, whoa, I blanked. She recently graduated high school and used writing as a form of activism. Recently, we had the opportunity to go to Maine. That was a fun trip. And we went to a demolition derby. That was, I still have the images in my head. My favorite part of the demolition derby was, here is the father. He's been doing this for 22 years, and his daughter was also a part of it. She's been doing it for only 4 years. And they were the final two within one round. And he was telling me how when they pulled up next to each other, they pointed at one another, and they said to each other, it's just me and you. I found that to be very interesting. Oh, the daughter won second place, just saying.
Hi, I'm Nailea Dominguez, and I'm here representing ICP, International Center of Photography, but I was also a part of the BDC, the BJPL. My project mainly focuses on Makeham's Dam Park and like the community that's part of it. I started out this project because after practice, I would go to work out with my dad, but mainly my dad would be the one working out. And it really inspired me because the people there were really dedicated. They were athletes and they were putting in a lot of work. So it made me think how only specific sports are represented and photographed and given attention, such as football or soccer or like more, I don't know, sports with more advertisement. So I think that it was really important to represent these communities and like show that even though it's a street style fitness, it's also important. It should also be represented. I think these communities are important because photography isn't only helping them be shown to other people, but it's helping the people within the athletes to feel important and feel like they are part of society, not excluded. So, yeah. I didn't really communicate individually with the people there because I feel like together they looked a lot better. They had a really friendly environment. They were really nice to you. And if you asked them to take like their picture, their portrait, they were really like helpful. They were super nice. And yeah. I don't have much to say.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm representing the Lower Eastside Girls Club. I've been there for like more than like 2 years, I think. And so, so I was introduced to zines by the Lower Eastside Girls Club. I saw so many like how Japanese people really dress, like in Harajuku and all of that. And it's really interesting, so I decided to do how New York high schoolers actually dress. And it was just like a way to express how like high schoolers actually identify themselves. And so like this is my great friend Kayla, and she's really beautiful. And I just asked her like what inspires her fashion and all of that. And she was like, I just let my femininity, oh my God, like roll out, and she doesn't let society like tell her what she can wear, and she just like owns her body and knows how to like express herself in such a positive and like influential way. And then this is Tulio, and so like he's like really into streetwear. He knows where he's from, he represents where he's from, and I just really think to know that where you come from, it allows you to identify yourself, and it gives you a stance to like help people that like have problems with identifying themselves and such. This is my best friend Janelle, and you know, like she just like she represents, she knows what New York is about, she doesn't let anybody tell her what to do, and I think that really reflects on her personality and her image. And this is my friend Mohammed, you know, he's like scary in the background. And he like, you know, he just does him. And I think like my zine is supposed to be like how we like identify ourselves, and like how it like it's portrayed by the public and all that. Okay, and so like and then sorry. So like this is my mom in the 90s or 80s, and she's so cool. She's like in the subway in England, like knowing where she's at. Like her style is a little crazy, like a jersey with a denim mini skirt and funky tights and a really big jacket. Like she knows where she's coming from. And like I tried to portray it, it's not really good, but like, you know, you get the idea. Okay, so like her name is Rosie. She's from the Chulita Vinyl Club, and she's super cool. She's from California, and the Chulita Vinyl Club is about it's about like girls of all backgrounds, and their passion for like vinyls and like records. And you know, she's just like she's representing, like look at her attitude, it's just everywhere. Okay, and then her name is I forgot, but her series is really cool. She's from the Unapologetic Brown series, and she's letting women know that they shouldn't be afraid of their color, and that you should really just like be happy in what skin tone you are. Like it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, anything. Just own who you are and learn how, like know how to represent yourself in an influential way, like help little girls and little boys know where their stance is in society, and it's really just powerful. And so I'm pretty sure that's all I have, but thank you.
Hello guys, I'm from the South Bronx, and I represent Future Imagemakers. And Future Imagemakers was my first photography program, and it introduced me to digital imaging, and then I learned a lot from that program. So if you can't read it, it says, in a time of confusion, her sanity went up in flames. And in this picture, I wanted to touch on mental health because it's widely talked about these days, but I feel like, especially with teenage girls, we feel a bit ashamed of asking for help. And I wanted my photo to show how like deteriorating like mental health is to a teenager. And during the Future Image Makers program, we were assigned a task of like explain yourself through photos. So since this was like an introductory program to me, I didn't know like exactly how to represent myself. So I just took a picture of what I usually watch on YouTube, which is natural hair videos. And I feel like this is integral to my identity as a Black woman, learning how to take care of your natural hair, because especially in the media, all you see is white women with straight hair and blue eyes. And I felt like someone like me is never representative. So yeah, I'm trying to learn about myself through YouTube and trying to look at other women who are like me. And this is another picture of the Express Yourself project. And here I'm trying to explain how people perceive me. At school, people know me as the bookworm or the smart girl. And yeah, so basically people see me as the smart girl. And actually when someone else seen this picture, they commented how it looks like how African women, they put like barrels on their head. And I actually didn't like see the connection, but now I see it because I'm from Gambia. And the women, they carry water on their head. So it's like, you know, it's like alludes to my ancestry, because like back home, my mom, she'll carry a water bucket and she'll carry it home. But now here in America, since I have the privilege of having education, I'm carrying the knowledge on my head, but like metaphorically, not literally. I don't carry books around. I actually had a chance to go to South Korea this past spring through my school. And I went to a traditional palace called the Gyeongbok Palace, and I had the opportunity of wearing a traditional dress called a hanbok. And this is my favorite picture because all of the green in the photo, and green is actually my favorite color. And while I was at Korea, I noticed green everywhere. Yeah. And this is my little sister, Fatima. I wanted to capture what it's like to be young and youthful and like still coming into yourself. And like at this age, she's 5 years old. At this age, you're still trying to find yourself and personality. And she's like testing makeup, and she, you know, she's checking herself out. She knows she's cute. Yeah. And this is a part of my final project at Future Imagemakers, about how teenage girls use social media for social activism and for like to talk about the unattainable beauty standards. This is my friend Fatumata, and with her I focus on how Muslim women are often unrepresented in the media, and how beauty is, you know, people think beauty is a single thing, but she knows that her scarf don't define her beauty. Beauty is everything, and yeah, and I love this picture. This is my other friend, Taemaya. She's another Black woman, and she's interested in Korean culture and like anime, and in like the Black community, it's sort of taboo to like, especially in the South Bronx, everybody loves rap and hip hop, and it's sort of like taboo to be interested in other stuff that's not traditional. And she uses Instagram to like look at anime and like, you know, be in tune with her personality. Yeah, that's another picture. And this is another picture from my project, and this picture mostly shows how cell phones are very important, and how they allow teenage girls to, you know, share their opinions with the rest of the world. And yeah, that's another picture, squat up. And that's me, you know, to conclude. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm not representing any specific organizations, but I am representing a whole city. So, let's see. Photography for me has been a pretty recent discovery, but really important to my life. In the like end of middle school through like the first half of high school, I started like coming out as trans, and it really hurt me a lot, facing all sorts of discrimination and bullying, and I'm going to talk about that a little more. But it really coincided with like coming into you know, realizing who I was, getting back into, like, you know, living again and wanting to be alive. And, you know, it's also just made me a much more independent person, and I really love it so much. And activism has been a huge part of that. I really tend to focus on a very documentary aspect of work with protests and stuff, and that's reflected in my photos, as you'll see. So this one, I wanted to start off with it because it's actually a little unusual. It shows a much more behind-the-scenes kind of thing. My school tends to be very, you know, we have a lot of activists and stuff, and so there was like a little sign-making party a couple days before the Women's March at lunch, and I just went in there and shot a few photos, and I really love this one, especially, a laser pointer, yeah. That one girl's sign, and of course the laser pointer doesn't work on the TV, but that one girl's sign, sisters, not sisters, with the second sisters being spelled CIS, which really made me feel, it made me feel welcome in a march that I actually ended up not going to because of, you know, their cis-centric feminism. This one was at, you know, the Israel-Palestine conflict tends to be a really controversial thing in social justice communities because it really doesn't conform to, like, a left-right dichotomy as much. And this protest also was very last minute. It happened when Trump announced the he was going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, sparking outrage and just being a really stupid decision that went against everything that everyone else said was a good idea. This one, I really love this image. This person, Jay, is a really awesome person, and it's, I also really love this image because most of the images that I have no clue who the people are, so it's kind of cool to have someone that I know, and also it really speaks to me as a trans student. I have faced so much bullshit at school, like, don't even get me started on that. But anyway, you know, it really does feel like guns have more rights than I do as a fucking person. So, yeah, and I actually, you know, a shout out to him for making that amazing ass sign. This one, another very sign-focused one. It really points out how, you know, oppressed people really can't trust the systems that are supposed to protect people. You know, I've faced bullshit from cops. You know, I got arrested once and had to be in a men's cell, and it was awful. I've, you know, been harassed by police. But, you know, this was also just, like, one of the first photos that I ever took of, like, activism, and I still, you know, it's still so powerful to me, especially the expressions on their faces. It really, you know, it wasn't as intentional. I wasn't being as intentional about it, but it's still, okay, I'm gonna go through these a little more quickly. This protest was like a really happy thing. It was more about celebrating humanity rather than protesting, you know, oppression. And it really felt so good to be there, even though my camera screwed up. The mount had a broken screw, so I had to, like, shove my lens into place just to get it to focus properly. This one, you know, I'm just gonna, since I've got to wrap up, I'm just gonna go through them, and you can just look at them and admire them. Actually, this one, though, that's my megaphone. I have no clue who the girl is. It's kind of cool. It really conveys the amount of trust that's in protests.
Hello, I'm Aisha. I'm a little sick, so sorry. I think they're gonna play the trailer of my film. Yeah, so I'm representing the Lower East Side Girls Club, and that's where I made my first film on female genital mutilation. And this film was sort of like the sequel of that, which it was exploring more of the relationship with me and my mother as a result of what happened when I was a young child. So, and I did it with the Tribeca Film Institute.
No matter what, mother is mother.
Mm-hmm.
You have another sister, another brother. But mother, trust me, I am the only one you're gonna have in this world. There's nothing you can do about that. Do you like or not? I am the only one.
The last question is like, when did you and I first connect?
I don't know when was the connection, when they started, because I have a short memory, but it was by this movie.
So yeah, Riana actually shot the first few scenes of us on the roof, which was pretty cool because she has a history in photography, but she was able to shoot that, which is sort of the intersection. But this film sort of explores the relationship with me and my mother. And what happened was, I'm from Guinea, West Africa, so when I was 1 year old, there's a lot of religious and cultural traditions that happen in Guinea, and one of them is female genital mutilation, which is, I don't want to explain it. You can tell with the name, but they were planning to do that to me when I was an infant, and they did it to my mother when she was 9. So my mother decided to sacrifice our relationship and send me to America while she remained in Guinea. And then I didn't see her until I was like 6 or 7, and I was basically living with my grandparents in the LES, and I've lived with them ever since. And when I found out all this information, so I found this out when I was 15, and I made this film last year when I was 16, and basically it was so much information at once. I feel like I was figuring out all these things about my life at a young age, and my first thought was like, I need to make a documentary about this, because even though that it felt very specific to me, this story of like sacrifice and gender-based violence is actually a universal story. So I decided to explore it for a year, and it was a very rewarding process, but it was actually, oh crap, sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, it was a rewarding process, but it was actually emotionally exhausting because I was learning like a lot about my past, and the way I was able to do that was by asking questions and asking about my family history, which I encourage everyone to do, because I feel like as a result, I'm closer with my mother, and I realized that filmmaking, it's not just to make it and then submit it to a few festivals. It's actually therapeutic, and it was helping the relationship of me and my mother. And I realized that film is sort of like an extension of my activism, where I cared about women and gender-based violence before I cared about film. So I was able to combine the two and tell the stories of my mother and I. And I think that it's so important for sort of everyone on this panel to document how they feel, their perspectives on the world, because in the future, when they're looking at history and they want to understand what did young people care about, we didn't just care about like Snapchat and what was happening in media. There's real things that we're going through, whether it's dealing with oppression or DACA or family separation, and the way they could figure that out was with photography and through our films. So I think that I'm always encouraging like young people telling their stories, because a lot of what's already being told in the film industry, it's from a very like white male gaze, and those are sort of like the classics that I, like when I was in film class, they'd be like Scorsese and Spielberg, and I was like, who are these people? Like I was watching for Color Girls and Menace in Society and like bad Nigerian movies, and that's sort of like what I grew up with. So, and I think that it's nice to, like I always wanted growing up to watch a film where I could personally connect to and relate with. And because there's a lack of that, the only solution is to sort of make those stories that, I don't know, like even me and Aisha, we have the same name, go figure, we're speaking about sort of Guinea and both being like African women, and she also, I've just met her today, but her family also experienced female genital mutilation. So there's already this connection that we had, and I think that It's beautiful.
Wow. I hope many of you were at the opening night celebration, but the Resistance Revival Chorus gave us an incredible song, but they started out talking about joy as resistance, and I have to say that is what I'm feeling at this moment, because I'm so inspired by the 6 of you, so actually the 7 of you. So I want to thank you and encourage you to keep it up. So some questions from the audience. Perry? Wait, can you take that?
I want to congratulate all of you on being so articulate about your work, and it was inspiring to hear. I'm interested in the fact that some of you were able to travel to foreign countries, and I'm wondering if you felt that sensitized you more to other people, or how that experience fed into your photographs, aside from the photographs you took there.
Who wants to?
So I had the opportunity to travel to South Korea, and actually for the past 3 years I've been learning the Korean language. So I went there to practice my Korean, and I actually did homestay with a Korean family, and I feel like my photography actually brought me together with the people I stayed with, and yeah, I think photography is a universal language, and it helped me connect to the people there, and I met a few artists over there, and it was just a beautiful experience being an artist in a foreign country and having other people connect with you. Yeah.
Hi. I had the opportunity to travel to Japan, and it was a very interesting experience, since I didn't just meet with like Japanese people. Since I went to an international competition, there was people from China, Canada, Uzbekistan, and it was just very interesting to just see the different cultures and just see their point of view of how they would view a different country.
Hi, my name's Sarah Matheson. I'm an Australian documentary photographer and visual storyteller based in Chicago. I was actually one of the photographers for March for Our Lives, and I ran Women's March Chicago. So first of all, thank you for taking your photos. Thank you for being visual storytellers. But the question I have actually relates to you as part of the political process. What's your perception of voting?
Okay, so as like an American citizen, I think it's our duty to actually vote, because, okay, so like with this election, there's this thing called the silent majority, and the silent majority isn't the people that are actively like showing their face and protesting and all of that. Like in media, we mostly see everybody like, oh, against Trump, like we're wait, my bad, we're not anti, but like it's like the majority isn't like that. The majority of America is conservative, and we don't, it's like, it's crazy because we don't see Americans as that. And so like when we voted, we were all shocked that Trump became president because of the silent majority. And then a lot of people thought that because activists were in media like 24/7, they didn't need to vote. And because they didn't vote, Trump won. So it's like our duty to actually vote, because then like it's not an accurate representation of who we are as a society. So yeah.
Yes.
Fuck Trump, go vote.
Okay, so I actually, is this working? Yeah. I actually work for an organization called the Love Vote, and it's focused on people who can't vote, whether they're too young, formerly incarcerated, or not a U.S. citizen. So I'm a permanent resident, and even if I did turn 18, I wouldn't be able to vote. So from the perspective of somebody who's living in this country and the policies impact them, and sort of like within all my identities, like my life is just political, like I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm an immigrant, my family is just like, there's so many policies that impact me. So I feel like with voting, I think it's important to think of voting as not just for yourself, but thinking of like, if you have the privilege to do it, because there is controversy whether voting is a privilege or not, and some people feel that the who they're voting for doesn't represent them. But if you do have the privilege to vote, think about those who can't, because there's over 50 million Americans who can't vote. And I think that the most frustrating feeling is to know that policies do impact you, but you can't do anything about it. So I would say it's important to understand that privilege that comes with voting.
Thank you for asking that question.
Your images and your words are really extraordinary, each of you. And my question is, I want to ask anyone who wants to answer, to what extent does your extraordinary work represented here by you intersect with anything that you do at school?
Well, at school, I major in cartooning. So one thing at the Bronx Documentary Center mainly teaches us is storytelling. And to be a cartoonist, since I want to be a comic book artist, I need to understand how to tell a story. And like, what do I want to incorporate, and just like, where is my perspective coming from, basically. So yeah, that's basically how it gets in with my school.
Somebody else.
Even though this particular project isn't really on like that aspect of political society, I think that it interacts in school. It relates to school because it depends on how you interact with people and how you inform people about what's happening. If you see someone with a bias, with a certain bias, and you disagree with them, there's no need for a violent argument, but like an informal approach to enlighten them, to like show them how their perspective is wrong or how you can improve their perspective.
Anybody else?
So my like final project series, it was based on girls, and that represents, I'm in a girl empowerment group at my school called ROSE, which stands for Respectful Outstanding Sisters of Excellence, and that's a big part of my school life because all the girls in my school, we come together and we talk about issues that affect us, and we try to impact the community, and we try to like raise money for like women in prisons and other girls around the world that can't speak up for themselves. So yeah.
So you probably saw a lot of the photos in there were from the walkouts against gun violence. I, at school, am known as like that crazy photo girl. Because, you know, I always have a camera, I'm always doing photography, and it was really cool because I got to work as, like, a photojournalist covering the marches for the schools and organizations doing that, and that was a really cool experience. And, you know, the best part of that was, like, seeing, like, 100 posts with me tagged on Instagram, you know, knowing that there were probably another 200 where someone forgot to do the damn tag. But yeah, it's you know, I think that student activism is incredibly important. You know, we're the voices of the future, and we should make them heard.
Hi. First of all, thank you everyone for giving great talks and sharing your amazing work. It's a two-part question for Aisha. Okay. Hi. First, where can we find your film, like the full version of it? And the second question is, how did your mom feel about the film after watching it?
I'm going to interject. Her full film is in our container, so you can walk over afterwards and see it. But is it other places too?
Gosh, I should actually just put it publicly online, but just speak to me after. I'll just email it to you. Yeah. The way my mom, so basically, I don't think my mom understood what I was doing while I was making the film, because she thought of it as just like me with a camera, just following her. She thought it was something like I'm helping my daughter out with a little project, basically. So I never showed her a cut. She wasn't really a part of the editing process, so she only understood the production side of it. So the first time she saw anything was when it premiered. And with the fellowship program, which if you are a young filmmaker, you should, like they're looking for applicants, but it premiered and she flew from Atlanta because we don't live with each other, and she was like crying. I think we were all crying because it was just, the only person I cared about, and like film is a lot about, oh, you critique films. The only critique I like wanted to hear from was my mom, and she like loved it because she was just, and also my grandparents were there, and then there was photos from Guinea, West Africa that I used. So just to see like my family on the big screen, I think it was just an emotional thing for everyone, but she was just proud of me, and it was just a good response.
This is a question for the middle Aisha. And I'm particularly interested in how much meaning you can invest in one photograph. So I was just curious about the self-portrait with the books on your head. And I was wondering if you specifically chose which books and the order, composition of that, or not.
Yeah, so the books I had on my head, I had Rupi Kaur. I love her. She's my favorite poet. I had Hamlet, and I had, I think, like a self-help book from Hill Harper. And those are books that actually changed my perspective of the world, especially the Hill Harper book. I read it over the summer. I read it over my 9th grade summer. And it made me more knowledgeable about like other women and like how to express myself and like how to like maintain my like posture and like have manners and stuff like that. And Rupi Kaur, I just love her writing, and like I find her words so beautiful and I relate to them so much. And the way like initially when I took the photo, like I wasn't really thinking about the end product. I just thought to myself, hey, let me just put books on my head since people think I'm like, you know, I'm so smart. Yeah. So I'm glad it came out like to other people. It came out to like, I'm glad that the picture, it means a lot to other people because it shows my African like ancestry, and it represents me. And I don't really call myself smart because I feel like the connotation is like too braggy. But yeah, I hope to answer your question.
Own it.
Yeah, I'm smart. Thank you.
Any other questions? So we'll take a last question. Yeah.
So photography is somewhat unique in the arts that you actually need hardware to create it. So can you guys talk a little bit about maybe where you got cameras for film or photo, and also maybe how those materials either changed the way you shot the photography, whether you went back to film or anything about that?
So I did the Future Imagemakers program, and it's a free program for high school students. And since it was free, like I just jumped on the opportunity because like I really love photography, and I always like admired the photographers I follow on my Instagram profile, and I always wanted to try it out on my own. So since the program was free and they like actually give you digital cameras to take home and like experiment with it, and like you have access to other materials like tripods. So I just use all of my resources, and like I was able to make a beautiful final project because of the Future Image Maker program and the resources and the help the teachers gave me. Yeah.
Okay, so like I didn't start photography until like a year or two ago because I just didn't have the equipment and I didn't really know how to do it like in like a professional setting, right? So when I was introduced to the Lower Eastside Girls Club, I was in photography class, and it like wowed me, like the professional setup with the softbox, with the backdrop and all of that. Like it just like it was very inspiring. And then and so yeah, that just seeing such a professional setting allows you to imagine your future, and it's just it's cool. So yeah.
I'd like to interject here a shout out to all of our programs that support these young artists, and that we all offer. We all give them equipment, free equipment. We're all in need of support. I wasn't planning on saying this, but it seems like a perfect opportunity, especially with digital cameras. So anybody listening or here, if you've got equipment that you're no longer using, donate to one of these programs. We will pass on the cameras to young people, and you can see, what they can do. And I'm just so in awe of you all. I must, and I think I can speak for the whole audience. Aisha wants to say something.
And also, there has been this new talk where filmmaking or photography is becoming accessible with iPhones, but I personally think that it's just not the same. And there is such a difference with filming on your phone and filming on a professional camera. And a lot of if you are low income or just come from a place where your family doesn't value buying cameras, I think there's such an importance of you shouldn't, based on where you live or your income, not be able to use a professional camera. It just, the quality is better and it's nicer to use, and it's just fun.
Also with that, I'm just as a photographer, I'm always amazed at how bad most of my friends are with lighting. Stop standing in front of the damn sun. Thank you.
So I just want to end by a little personal plug on the larger exhibition that our exhibition here at Photoville is part of, that's going to open October 4th. It was co-curated by Deb Willis, me, and Riana. And it's a truly intergenerational show with 70 artists, not counting all the high school students that are here. We don't like to do things that are easy or simple over at DPI. And so our whole show from Photoville will also be there. So if you know people who you think would be interested that can't see it there, come there. I hope you all will come to the opening. It should be quite a celebration. And I also wanted to end with a shout out to For Freedoms, which hopefully all of you know about. And yes, they deserve applause. And we are one of the 200 institutional partners that are part of their 50-state initiative that's happening right now that encourages broad participation and inspire conversation about the November midterm elections. So we all need to be out there voting, talking, marching, whatever, and supporting our young people. And I cannot thank you all enough. And thank you all.